Welcome to your deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the murder of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
Yeah.
This is a case that's got everyone talking, and I think one of the most fascinating things about it is that the suspect, Luigi Mangione, doesn't fit the profile you'd expect at all.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
We've got a stack of news articles here covering the crime itself, the investigation, and then background on Mangione. And I have to say, some of the details that we're going to get into are really, really surprising.
Yeah, definitely. The surface details, CEO killed, suspect arrested, that's just the tip of the iceberg here.
Right.
This deep dive, we've got a unique opportunity to kind of explore some of the things that are going on here, how individual motivations can clash with corporate America, and also how the public plays such a crucial role in helping to crack this case.
So the crime itself was incredibly audacious. Thompson was shot outside of a Manhattan hotel in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Initially, everyone was just baffled. I mean, why Thompson? Why such a public act?
Right. And then there's the detail about the shell casings.
Right.
They were stamped with the words delay, deny, defend.
Wow.
Which immediately linked it to the criticisms of the healthcare industry.
Oh, yeah.
Very deliberate, very symbolic, sending a very clear message.
It definitely got people speculating.
Right.
But let's not forget, this is about a human life lost.
Yeah.
Thompson's family held a private memorial service and chose to grieve away from the media frenzy.
For sure.
So the investigation itself is really worth taking a closer look at. The NYPD went all out. I'm talking drones, canine units, even scuba divers.
Yeah.
It's a great example of how law enforcement these days is combining these traditional methods with some pretty cutting edge technology.
Well, for sure.
Scuba divers, though, that seems a bit extreme, doesn't it?
Maybe a little bit, but it really does just highlight the thoroughness.
Right.
They weren't messing around. They used video analysis, forensics, good old-fashioned door-to-door canvassing, too.
Right.
So they were covering all their bases. And it wasn't just about, the high-tech stuff either. They relied heavily on tips from the public, which played a big role.
Huge role.
Yeah.
So a McDonald's employee in Altoona, Pennsylvania, recognized Mangione from photos and called it in. Talk about everyday heroes.
Absolutely.
That single tip led to his arrest.
Yeah.
But the arrest itself was anything but simple. They found Mangione with fake IDs, a ghost gun with a suppressor, and thousands of dollars in cash.
Right.
He's like he was ready to disappear.
Yeah, fully equipped, and the ghost gun detail.
Yeah.
That's significant. Do you want to maybe get into that a little?
Yeah. Can you explain why the ghost gun is so crucial in this case?
Yeah, so ghost guns are essentially homemade firearms. They're assembled from parts that you can often buy online.
Oh, wow.
And the key is that they lack serial numbers.
Okay.
So they're very difficult, virtually untraceable.
Right.
And it's a growing trend, which makes law enforcement's job much harder, obviously.
I can see why that's a big deal. So we've got this suspect who's armed, prepared to vanish. But then when you read these articles, they paint a picture of Luigi Mangione that does not at all fit the violent criminal stereotype, He came from an incredibly privileged background. His family is wealthy and influential in Baltimore. He was valedictorian at a really prestigious school. I'm talking went to an Ivy League university.
Yeah.
It seems like he had every advantage in life. How?
You're right, and that's what makes this so intriguing, right? How does someone with that background end up as the suspect in a CEO's murder? There's such a stark contrast between the picture we get from his past and the accusations he's now facing.
And it's not just his family's wealth.
Right.
He was clearly a bright guy, worked as a software engineer, had all these interests in technology, AI, even psychedelics based on his social media posts.
Exactly. So it's not, this isn't the profile you'd typically associate with violent crime.
And then there's this document that the police found.
Oh.
Handwritten, multi-page, just filled with anger.
Right.
Directed at corporate America. It even contained this one line that said, "These parasites had it coming."
Yeah, this document is crucial because it provides potential insight into his mindset, right? It suggests a level of resentment towards the corporate world that goes beyond just, typical dissatisfaction.
Yeah, it's chilling, and it makes you wonder, did his resentment towards corporate America somehow morph into something much darker?
It's certainly possible. But there's another layer to this document that I think we need to explore, and that is his personal struggles. Mangione wrote extensively about dealing with chronic back pain and a host of other health issues.
Right.
He even He even mentions his back surgery, the one that he features in that X-ray photo that he uses as his profile backdrop on social media.
Right. He wasn't just posting some random image. He was sharing a part of his, struggle. So he talks about the surgery, he talks about the pain, he talks about his battle with Lyme disease, and even severe brain fog. It almost sounds like he felt misunderstood by people, like they didn't grasp how debilitating these conditions really were.
Yeah, this adds a whole new dimension to the case, right? We're not just looking at someone who's angry at the corporate world.
Right.
We're also seeing a glimpse into a very personal struggle with health and potentially a feeling of being let down by the healthcare system itself.
So imagine this. You're brilliant, you're used to success, and then suddenly you're hit with these health challenges, right? You're facing this system that might feel impersonal, maybe even like it's failing you.
Right.
It's easy to see how that could lead to disillusionment.
Absolutely. And while we can't obviously diagnose Mangione from afar, understanding these personal struggles that he was going through is really crucial to this case.
Right.
It helps us to see, the potential psychological landscape that he was navigating. But there's another piece to this puzzle, and it's a disturbing one.
Oh, okay.
So Mangione had been reading the Unabomber's manifesto.
Oh, wow.
And he didn't just read it. He actually wrote a review online.
Wow.
Where he called the Unabomber, the man who terrorized people with mail bombs, an extreme political revolutionary.
That's pretty unsettling.
It is.
Yeah.
And while we obviously, absolutely condemn the Unabomber's actions,
right,
this detail raises some serious questions about Mangione's worldview.
Yeah.
Was he drawn to this idea of violent resistance against, perceived injustices?
Right.
It's a chilling possibility that we have to consider.
Definitely. And adding to that, there's this strange silence on his social media accounts in the months leading up to the shooting. Friends were posting all these worried messages saying they hadn't heard from him. Was this a sign of his mental state deteriorating, or was he deliberately withdrawing before the crime?
That's a key question that investigators will need to address.
Right.
Did he consciously isolate himself as part of some kind of plan? Or was this a sign of something unraveling within him? The timeline of his actions, both online and offline, will be really crucial to figuring that out.
Right. So we're starting to see a picture emerge here.
Yeah.
A man struggling with health issues, expressing anger at the corporate world, drawn to these extreme ideologies. But then you also have this privileged background, this intelligence. It's such a strange mix. And it raises the question, how much did his online activity play a role in all of this?
Yeah, that's a complex question, right? I mean, social media can be a real double-edged sword. On one hand, it can connect people,
right,
offer support, but it can also reinforce existing beliefs, even dangerous ones. It can create these echo chambers where extreme views are kind of amplified and normalized. So we need to consider both sides of that.
Right. So we've gone from this seemingly open and shut case of a CEO's murder to something far more intricate. It's a story of privilege, personal struggles, this potential descent into radical ideology, and ultimately a violent act that has left everyone searching for answers. But let's shift gears for a second here and talk about how they actually caught him.
Right. Yeah, it's easy to get lost in the why of the crime, but the how is equally fascinating.
Totally.
And I think this case really demonstrates the importance of those traditional investigative techniques, even in our digital age.
Yeah, I mean, the NYPD really pulled out all the stops. We talked about the drones, the canine units, the scuba divers. It was like a full-blown manhunt.
Absolutely.
Right.
And those efforts were vital in gathering the evidence that ultimately led them to Mangione. But what's remarkable is that alongside those, high-tech tools, they also relied on good old-fashioned detective work. Canvassing neighborhoods, interviewing countless people, meticulously reviewing security footage. It was this blend of modern technology and classic detective work.
Like something out of an old-school detective movie. And I remember they released photos of the suspect without his mask, hoping that someone, somewhere, would recognize him.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right.
That McDonald's employee in Altoona, she cracked the case wide open. It really shows the power of public awareness and collaboration.
Absolutely. A single tip from a concerned citizen brings this fugitive to justice. It really highlights the importance of community involvement. This wasn't just solved with fancy technology.
Right.
It was solved because someone was paying attention and took action.
Yeah, and the NYPD also had a few lucky breaks along the way. Remember, they found that backpack in Central Park?
Yes.
And it contained some strange items like Monopoly money.
Yeah. It was peculiar, and it caught their attention.
Yeah.
Sometimes even seemingly insignificant clues can play a role in cracking a case. So it was this blend of traditional police work,
Right.
public involvement,
Yeah.
and even a bit of luck that led them to Mangione.
So even in this world of cybercrime and digital forensics, good old-fashioned police work, coupled with the public's help, proved decisive.
For sure.
It's a reminder that being alert and engaged can make a real difference.
It also speaks to the unpredictable nature of investigations. Sometimes it's not just about having the best technology.
Yeah.
It's about the human element, the chance encounter, the individual who chooses to speak up.
So we've talked about the crime, the victim, the suspect, how he was caught. Now let's tackle the toughest part, and that is understanding Luigi Mangione's motive. Even with all the information that we have, his motive remains a puzzle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
We have these glimpses into his mindset through his writings, his online activity, but the full picture is still unclear.
Right. I mean, he clearly expressed anger toward corporate America.
Yeah.
Called them parasites. And then there's that chilling line, these parasites had it coming. But was this just like a general rage against the system? Or was it specifically directed at healthcare,
Yeah.
maybe fueled by his own health struggles and his experiences with insurance?
That's a crucial distinction.
Right.
Was this a targeted attack driven by, very personal grievances against healthcare, or a broader, more ideological attack on the corporate world as a whole?
And then there's that Unabomber connection, which I still find really disturbing.
Yeah.
This wasn't just some casual reading material. It seems like Mangione was drawn to this idea of violent resistance against what he perceived as injustice.
Right.
Did he see himself as some sort of revolutionary? Did he view killing Brian Thompson as striking a blow against the corporate world?
These are questions that will likely be at the heart of the investigation and any subsequent trial.
Right.
We need to determine if this was a premeditated act of ideological violence, or if personal struggles played a more significant role. And there's also the question of his mental state, right? We know he was dealing with chronic pain. There were signs of isolation and withdrawal before the shooting. Could this have contributed to some kind of psychological breaking point? Did his perception of the world become so distorted that he saw violence as the only answer?
It's a sensitive area to speculate on.
Yeah.
But mental health can't be ignored in this equation. Personal struggles, ideological influences, psychological states, all of these things can intersect in really complex ways, and sometimes that leads to devastating consequences.
Right. So we're left with this puzzle where we have many of the pieces,
Yeah.
but we're still missing some crucial ones to really see the complete picture.
Right.
And we may never fully understand what drove Mangione to allegedly commit this act.
That's the unsettling reality of many criminal cases, right? We can analyze the evidence, we can explore potential motives, but ultimately the human mind, especially when pushed to extremes,
Right.
remains a mystery.
It highlights the limitations of our understanding of human behavior and motivation.
Yeah.
Even with all of our technology, all of our investigative tools,
Right.
we might never know for certain what led him down this path.
Yeah, it's unsettling to think that, someone can seemingly function normally while harboring these like dark thoughts.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what else might be going on beneath the surface that we're just not seeing.
Right. It's a question I think we all grapple with, especially in light of a case like this. But as this case progresses through the legal system, we'll hopefully gain more clarity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this trial is bound to be a media spectacle.
Absolutely.
The arguments, the expert testimonies, the public's reaction, it has all the elements of like a real-life courtroom drama.
It certainly does. And beyond the drama, I think it'll likely spark some really important discussions about broader issues.
Oh, for sure.
Gun control, the influence of extremist ideologies, the role of social media, the state of mental health care in our country. This case touches on a lot of sensitive nerves. It's a reminder that even amidst tragedy, there's an opportunity to learn and grow as a society. Maybe this case can lead to positive changes, to greater awareness of the factors that contribute to violence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a chance to have those tough conversations, to address the underlying issues that might have played a role. And hopefully, by understanding what happened, we can work toward preventing similar tragedies in the future.
So for you listening, what's the biggest takeaway for you? What sticks with you most after this deep dive? Is it the role of chance in solving the case, the stark contrast between Mangioni's background and his alleged actions, or maybe the unsettling glimpse into a mind that might see violence as a solution?
I think this case really forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about the world and about ourselves.
Yeah.
It challenges our assumptions about success, privilege, and the potential for darkness to exist in seemingly ordinary lives.
It's a reminder that everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And sometimes those stories take unexpected and tragic turns.
Yeah. And while we may never fully understand what led Luigi Mangione to allegedly commit this act, exploring the complexities of this case helps us, I think, better understand the forces that shape our society, the choices that individuals make. It's a story that continues to unfold, and one that will undoubtedly stay with us long after the headlines fade.
This deep dive has been a journey into the dark side of human nature, a reminder that even in a world striving for progress, we still have a lot to learn about ourselves and each other. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.